The worsening war in the Balkans. NATO planes shoot down Serb MiGs inside Bosnia. Cracks in the NATO alliance as thousands of Greeks march on the U.S. Embassy in Athens. And a guilty verdict in the murder trial of suicide Dr. Jack Kevorkian.
This is the CBS Evening News. With Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. A third night of U.S. bombing is underway in Yugoslavia amid new signs the war may spread wider through the Balkans. These are the late developments. NATO jets shot down 2 Yugoslav MiG fighters across the border in Bosnia. Mostly Muslim Albanians are fleeing Kosovo, with reports of massacres by mostly Christian Orthodox Serb forces. President Clinton warned the Serbs, those who commit atrocities will be brought to justice. Television's most widely experienced Defense Department correspondent David Martin begins our coverage from the Pentagon.
The crumpled wreckage of a MiG is all that remains of what may have been a dramatic attempt by Serb President Milosevic to widen the war by attacking NATO troops in Bosnia. F-15s on patrol over Bosnia tracked the 2 MiG-29s as they took off from Serbia and headed west. The evidence is unclear, but the MiGs might have been the lead aircraft in an attempted strike against NATO troops in Bosnia. If so, it was thwarted when the F-15 shot them down.
A second possibility is that they were involved in some sort of a Serb scheme to shoot down one of our planes.
The shoot-down occurred as NATO was about to begin another night of attacks. B-52 bombers took off from England to deliver a salvo of cruise missiles. Other planes flew out of Italy loaded with laser-guided bombs. Air Commodore David Wilby showed off some video of a bomb hitting an ammo dump.
You can tell by the veracity of the fire that's coming out that there has definitely been a fair amount of explosive in there.
But the Serb army in Kosovo is still on a rampage.
Some executions have been reported in a number of towns. Some destruction of villages has been reported in several towns. Certainly there is reason to fear for the worst, and we do fear for the worst.
NATO planes have not yet trained all their firepower on the troops who are doing the killing because they are still concentrating on knocking out Serb air defenses.
Bad weather is rolling in, and that will make it harder to go after the Serb defenses. Excuse me, will make it harder to go after the Serb army. Military officers say that unless Milosevic surrenders, the bombing could continue for at least another week. Dan?
David Martin at the Pentagon. This, the third night of air attacks, is now in full swing with more huge explosions reported from strikes by NATO cruise missiles and bombs. Especially hard hit expected to be the outskirts of Belgrade. CBS News correspondent Mark Phillips, who was expelled from Yugoslavia after the war began, reports tonight from across the border in Croatia.
The full might of the NATO attack still comes after dark. The southern industrial city of Niš endured a sustained attack, setting off fires that burned into the night. The longer the air raids go on, the more damage they do. But with images provided almost exclusively by Yugoslav television now, the world is getting a selective view. This was said to be damage in Pristina, the Kosovo capital. Much of the NATO attack has been concentrated here in an attempt to stymie the Serb offensive against the Albanian population. While military and industrial installations have been targeted, these Serb TV images show destroyed residences where the Serbs say refugees had been housed. Again, there are no reliable figures on civilian casualties, although the Serbs continue to broadcast images of the wounded, just as they do of the continued defiance of the Yugoslav military. These soldiers said to be maintaining their vigil on the border with Macedonia.
The Serbs are not providing images of their continuing campaign against Albanian civilians. The UN in Geneva today spoke of reports of teachers being lined up and shot in front of their students. With the expulsion of Western journalists, it's impossible to confirm those reports. But with NATO attacks so far concentrating on air defenses and military installations, the Serbs on the ground have been given a free hand to continue their campaign of ethnic cleansing without outside observers or interference. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Zagreb.
Government-controlled Serbian television tonight reported at least 7 mighty explosions on the outskirts of the capital city, Belgrade. From on the ground in Belgrade a short time ago, we got an eyewitness telephone report for you from Leanne Martindale of CBS Radio and Television.
I can hear the air sirens. They just went off about 3 minutes ago. About 5 minutes ago, I heard the first explosion. I'm below buildings, so it's difficult for me to get a sense of how far away they are. I would say at least 5 miles away. I heard about 3 explosions, and now it's gone completely silent.
Leanne Martindale of CBS News reporting from Belgrade. For the first time in the war today, NATO launched an airstrike during daylight hours. The cruise missile erupted from a U.S. Navy warship in the Adriatic Sea. CBS's Richard Roth is aboard the USS Philippine Sea on the firing line in the Adriatic.
It was an unexpected order to launch quickly, and for the first time since the strikes began, it happened in daylight. Rising on a blaze of rocket fuel, the cruise missile turned east over the Adriatic, toward land less than 50 miles away. Even officers in the ship's ultra-secret command center wouldn't have known the target. The digital directions were locked in the missile's computer. The job of the USS Philippine Sea is simply to be ready and react.
The fact is, the change in this ship's operation from uneventful cruise to naval combat has not changed most onboard routine, but it has given every sailor here something to think about.
With last night's volley from the USS Gonzales sailing nearby, a total of 35 of the 1.5-ton missiles have been launched from U.S. warships since Wednesday night. For many in the crew, it's a first-time experience in high-tech warfare at sea. But not for Engineman Eric Taylor.
We train to do things that when a situation arises, we have to rise to the occasion.
The Navy says their duty is to protect lives at risk in Yugoslavia with force when necessary. And no one here has been told how long that mission will last. Richard Roth, CBS News, aboard the USS Philippine Sea.
On the political and diplomatic front, Secretary of State Madeleine Albright said flatly again today, NATO is united. But there are rumblings of some nervous discontent from NATO's southern flank, especially from Greece and Italy, the NATO countries closest to the fighting. In Athens tonight, 10,000 protesters marched on the U.S. Embassy, fighting with police and burning flags as they chanted anti-American slogans. That followed a statement from a Greek government spokesman saying, quote, "It's time to stop the bombing and seek a political solution." Tonight, Greek officials backed away from that somewhat, saying they are not breaking with their NATO allies. In Italy, the main staging point for U.S. airstrikes, the Prime Minister backed away from his statement of yesterday, calling for an immediate bombing halt. And in Rome, protesters disrupted Parliament. In Russia, protesters were out again today, and the Kremlin cranked up its pressure to stop the Allied attack, expelling 2 NATO representatives from Moscow. The Russians are traditionally allied with their fellow Orthodox Christians in Serbia. Here in the United States, hundreds of Serbian Americans turned out to protest in Chicago. The demonstration was loud but peaceful. President Clinton put out a videotaped message to the Serb people today. He tells them President Milosevic has endangered their future by forcing them into a senseless conflict. But the main message from President Clinton and his aides is aimed at holding together the alliance. Scott Pelley is at the White House. Scott?
Dan, keeping the alliance in line, of course, is the president's first priority, and tomorrow he is expected to make a number of calls to other NATO heads of state to encourage them to stick with the plan. Now, the allies shared a good bit of intelligence today about the latest atrocities in Kosovo, and the Italians and the Greeks sent word privately to the White House that they are still on board. The president also warned today that Milosevic and his generals could be tried later as war criminals. Dan?
Scott Pelley at the White House. U.S. officials are keeping an especially nervous eye on Macedonia, the tiny Balkan country that borders the Serb province of Kosovo. During the past 24 hours, anti-American demonstrators have attacked the U.S. embassy in Macedonia. CBS News correspondent Alan Pizzi is there.
U.S. Ambassador Christopher Hill, who spent months on an exhausting round of diplomacy to try to end the war in Kosovo, today surveyed the evidence that the conflict may be spreading. The American embassy was attacked by what were described as members of the Serb minority here. Macedonian security forces were on hand to ensure they got nowhere near the premises today. American soldiers serving with the UN Protection Force here were rushed in to beef up security inside the compound. The U.S. diplomatic mission here is classed as a small embassy post, which means it doesn't have a permanent Marine Guard contingent. But the way things are going in this part of the world, that may have to be reconsidered. The violence reflects anger at NATO bombing and fears about the growing number of ethnic Albanian refugees from Kosovo. An estimated 20,000 are already here, and Macedonia says it cannot cope with more. But news from Kosovo reaching the head of the expelled international monitoring mission indicates more will be on their way.
Stories of the police coming in, masked, smashing doors, searching apartments are stories we're getting from some of our people that we left behind, locals.
In the meantime, the flag has been run up again. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Skopje.
NATO forces are starting now to shift the focus of their attacks. We'll have our CBS News military analyst report to you about that in a moment. Also tonight, the verdict in the Kevorkian murder trial. And what kind of spring will this be? A newly discovered weather phenomenon may tell you the answer.
Problem?
Doctor said my cholesterol is still too high.
What about diet and exercise?
They didn't do enough.
So?
He suggested adding Lipitor.
Lipitor, the #1 prescribed medication for lowering cholesterol. In clinical studies, Lipitor with diet was proven to lower bad cholesterol 39 to 60%, total cholesterol 29 to 45%, triglycerides 19 to 37%.
He said over 4 million people have started taking Lipitor to lower their cholesterol.
Lipitor is not for everyone, including people with liver disease or possible liver problems, women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant.
There'll be blood tests to check for liver problems.
Tell your doctor about muscle pain or weakness, as these may be signs of serious side effects.
You take Lipitor once a day.
Ask your doctor or pharmacist for more information on Lipitor and call 1-888-LIPITOR.
Well?
Lipitor did it. My cholesterol's way down.
Lipitor, the lower numbers you're looking for.
Brooks Brothers Eyewear by Luxottica. What do you want people to see?
I want you to see wisdom. Yeah, lucky man.
I want you to see that tradition doesn't have to be traditional.
Ask for the latest Brooks Brothers styles by Luxottica.
The Pentagon said today that after damaging Serb air defense systems in Yugoslavia, NATO is shifting the focus of its attacks to the large Serb army and police and militia units operating in Kosovo. Joining us now, our CBS News military consultant, retired General Buster Clausen. General, since we may be looking at sustained assaults on those Serbian ground forces in Kosovo, give us some idea of the size and scope of those forces.
Well, Dan, we've all seen the pictures of the Serb forces burning the villages and killing innocent civilians, then disappearing into the countryside, giving the impression that they're a ragtag guerrilla force. That perception is dead wrong. In Kosovo is a very ruthless and well-equipped force of 30,000 troops, 340 tanks, 250 armored personnel carriers, and approximately 280 artillery tubes. Roughly the equivalent of 2 U.S. Army divisions, both in number of troops and firepower, all inside of an area about the size of the state of Maryland.
General, given the size and scope of those ground forces the Serbs have in Kosovo, what will it take for an air campaign to defeat them?
3 or 4 days, 3 or 4 weeks of very intense bombing.
3 or 4 weeks?
Weeks. And I'm talking about 200 to 300 sorties a day in mountainous terrain, under and around clouds, dodging heat-seeking missiles low to the ground with AAA as a threat. Make no mistake about it, Dan. We would lose airplanes and we would lose pilots, but we would break the back of the Serbian fighting force if only we have the political will and the national patience to see it through.
General Buster Clausen, thanks. Coming up next, verdict in the Kevorkian murder trial and what it may mean.
Finally, intelligent life in auto insurance. Be progressive. Call 1-800-AUTO-PRO for savings that are out of this world. And remember,
The best way to stop suffering from allergies
is never to start. This is Nasal Crom. You heard right. Nasal Crom. It's allergy prevention. Nasal Crom doesn't just relieve allergies. It flat out prevents them, preventing the natural defenses in your nose from going haywire. So you can live like a person with no allergies. Nasal Crom's like nothing else. No drowsiness, no jitters, no dependency. Nasal Crom. The best way to stop suffering is never to start.
Does tossing one of these into your tank kill germs? Well, here's one way to be sure. Lysol Continuous Action Automatic Toilet Cleaner. It not only cleans, it kills germs. No other automatic toilet cleaner kills more. You have our word on it.
Hey, batter, what do you say, batter?
Ball.
Hey, thanks for telling me about 10-10-3-2-1.
Oh, you're using it, huh?
All the time. I call my folks in Seattle, my brother in Philly.
Hey, I have people in Philly. Stay here, I too. I wasn't ready.
Hey, did you really save much with 10-10-3-2-1?
Oh, yeah.
50% on calls over 10 minutes.
Wow, half off? That's huge.
Sure is.
I'll be back.
10-10-3-2-1. Who doesn't want to save 50%?
The report on George Jones' Recce is now in the hands of the DA. Will the singer be charged, or will the story end here? We'll have the answers tonight at 6.
A jury verdict of guilty of second-degree murder tonight in the trial of Dr. Jack Kevorkian, who has come to symbolize the assisted suicide movement. It's the first time Kevorkian has faced a murder charge. In this case, the videotaped death he had shown on CBS's 60 Minutes. CBS News law correspondent Kristen Jeanette Myers has our report.
One is guilty of lesser charge of second-degree murder.
The jury decided Dr. Kevorkian had finally gone too far.
Tom, do you want to go ahead with this?
At trial, Kevorkian admitted injecting a lethal dose of drugs into Thomas Yauk, a man suffering from Lou Gehrig's disease.
We're going to inject in your right arm.
Kevorkian gave this tape to CBS's 60 Minutes. He was charged with murder. But unlike earlier cases in which he only provided patients with lethal drugs, this time it was Kevorkian who administered the drug. After the verdict, the prosecutor tried to get Kevorkian's bond revoked.
I think that this is a candidate that's a risk to the public. He has just been deemed a felon. He has been deemed a murderer.
But the judge let him remain free after getting a promise.
No assisted suicide, no injection, no anything.
No, I kept my word up till now, and I'll keep it.
It may not be a coincidence that the first case Kevorkian lost is also the first case in which he didn't have a lawyer. Despite pleas from the judge, Kevorkian chose to represent himself, sometimes fumbling through complex legal arguments and losing on several critical issues. Now, before the trial, he told 60 Minutes' Mike Wallace he would starve himself to death if convicted. Kevorkian now faces up to life in prison. Dan?
Kristen Jeanette Myers, thanks. On the CBS Worldwide Market Watch, new rules for the trucking industry. The U.S. government is ordering big rigs to carry reflectors that outline the bottom edge of the trailer to make it less likely another vehicle will drive into it or under it.
You've all gotten what you wanted in this deal. V6, dual sliding doors, etc., etc. What about my client? Where's his share? Who's looking out for him? Jackie Childs, that's who. What's he need with 9 cup holders? What about 9 bottle holders? Yeah, you like that, don't you?
Oh, brother.
What's that?
Nothing.
The all-new 7-passenger, 9-bottle holding something for everyone Honda Odyssey. It's one big happy minivan.
Imagine a world without moisture. For millions of people with dry, scratchy eyes, this is how their world feels. Now there's new Visine Tears for dry eyes, with a unique tears formula not found in other leading brands. Visine Tears soothes dry, scratchy eyes and makes them feel moist and comfortable in seconds. And it's safe to use as often as you need. Discover a world of comfort with new Visine Tears. It gets the dry out.
Right now, Firestone tires are on sale. 4 for $99. Add a new 50,000-mile warranty, and people will buy them 8 at a time, maybe even 12.
The 4 for $99 sale at Firestone.
Great news about low-fat food at Boston Market.
A delicious meal with our rotisserie turkey, steamed vegetables, and garlic dill new potatoes has less than 4 grams of fat, and it's just $4.99 for a limited time. So take Boston Market home tonight.
So, Murray, did you hear?
About Nick across the way?
Tragic. Crime of his life.
Yeah, got sprayed.
Didn't he just get sprayed?
Yeah, took off his head, but didn't get the roots. Grew back stronger than ever. Whatever got him this time was different.
He had such strong roots. They were handsome roots. And deep.
I didn't think anything could take old Nick.
Hey, next time, it could be us.
Don't even think it.
Roundup kills even tough weeds down to the root. Roundup, no root, no weed, no problem.
The Final Four. Ohio State collides with Connecticut. Then Michigan State slams into the Duke Blue Devils for the best seat in St. Pete, CBS Sports.
A missionary in Greenland first noticed it over 200 years ago. It's a far-flung pattern of climate called the North Atlantic Oscillation. It doesn't quite have the ring of El Nino, but the more forecasters study this no-name phenomenon, the more they realize its impact on our weather is just as great. CBS's John Roberts has been studying this thing.
With few exceptions, the winter of '99 wasn't much of a winter at all along the East Coast. And climatologists say what's behind that is the North Atlantic Oscillation, the NAO.
In the same way that El Nino is the primary generator of weather in the tropical Atlantic, the NAO is the primary governor of storms in the wintertime season in the North Atlantic region.
The NAO is driven by a low that sits over Iceland and a high near the Azores. When they're strong, they create winds across the northeast that act as a barrier to Arctic air. Coastal waters warm, resulting in mild, wet winters. For most of the past 30 years, the NAO has been in a strong phase.
At the same time, we have witnessed much warmer winters in East Coast U.S. and much less snow.
But once in a while, the NAO weakens. The last time that happened was the famous winter of 1996. 21 storms brought record amounts of snow to the Northeast. Now, a group of researchers in England believes winters like that might be predicted. They've found Atlantic sea surface temperatures in the fall are an indication of what the NAO will do.
If you want to make a prediction that the next 5 winters might be wetter than average or warmer than on average, then that might be possible in the future.
And there's also new evidence that the NAO's effects linger all the way into summer. In years when the oscillation is strong, as it is this year, there's fewer hurricanes. In a weak year like 1996, there's more.
It's almost a doubling of the real intense hurricanes that do the most damage.
All of this has yet to be fully understood, but climatologists will go so far as to say that what the NAO gives us in winter is a pretty good indication of how the following few months will go. And that may well mean that the Atlantic coast is in for a warmer and wetter spring and a long, hot summer. John Roberts, CBS News, New York.
Up next here on CBS, Major League Baseball does Fidel Castro a favor.
I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine in.
Have you seen Transitions lenses lately? Indoors, the changing tint is clear. Outdoors, they're the darkest Transitions lenses ever. For all-day comfort and convenience, Transitions lenses, right in any light. Now available at Pearl Vision. Call 1-800-YES-EYES for the Pearl Vision nearest you. Nobody cares for eyes better than Pearl.
Here's a new idea. A pain reliever from Aleve that goes to work fast and lasts all day. Introducing new Aleve gel caps. Like most gel caps, they go to work fast, but Aleve gel caps do more than work fast. They have the strength to work all day long with just 2 pills. It would take 8 Tylenol to do that. Look, if your pain reliever starts fast but won't last, get one that does it all. New Aleve gel caps, 2 pills, all-day relief. Works for me.
If it's real chicken your dog wants, it's Prime you want. Because high-quality chicken is the primary ingredient in Pedigree Prime. Catch the wave of extraordinary savings. Be progressive. Call 1-800-AUTO-PRO. And remember,
Life's an adventure because you're over 50 and still exploring. So take the Centrum made just for you, Centrum Silver, with age-essential nutrients specially adjusted to keep pace with your changing nutritional needs. Centrum Silver, it's a great time to be silver.
No, this isn't a jeans commercial. It's about constipation. You're bloated, not yourself. Your size 10s feel like 2s.
FiberCon has natural fiber action to relieve bloating constipation.
I'm myself again.
FiberCon, be regular, be yourself.
In a week when the United States went to war with a foreign dictator, we end tonight with another completely kind of battle coming up this weekend. Americans will face off against a longtime foe, and each side has powerful arms. CBS's Byron Pitts reports from the sunny battlefield.
In Havana, America's pastime is Cuba's passion. This is not your father's game. Part carnival, part chorus line. But on Sunday, when a team of Cuban all-stars faces the Baltimore Orioles, most here agree it will be all politics. Not since the revolution in 1959, when a baseball fanatic named Fidel took over the country, has an American Major League team set foot in Cuba.
For Cubans, it's the World Series and a high-stakes summit squeezed into a 3-hour ball game. But Castro will hand-pick who attends. Tickets are by invitation only. Loyal baseball fans, like the men who gather in Havana's Central Park just to discuss baseball, see Sunday's invitation-only list as one more snub and one more sign of a life they dare not challenge. That's left to friends and relatives in South Florida, angry over recent crackdowns on dissidents opposed to Cuba's one-party rule. Yale professor Roberto Gonzalez wrote a book on Cuban baseball.
If Fidel Castro shows up, for example, and appears as a benevolent, jovial ruler who likes sports, he would be scoring a propaganda hit.
The Orioles had to fly in their own fans.
Hi, Mom. I'm in Cuba, and I won't disappoint you.
100 or so kids from Baltimore and Washington. They'll have box seats to history. They see Sunday's exhibition like this pickup game with a group of Cuban kids.
Cuba and America, they don't have really good relationships, so I'll do my best on the field.
Here, at least, it's still just a game. Byron Pitts, CBS News, Havana.
And that's part of our world tonight. Roberto Schiffer will have the latest on the Yugoslav story Sunday morning on Face the Nation. And here's Steve Croft with a look at what's coming up Sunday evening on 60 Minutes.
If it takes a George Lucas to create a Star Wars, it takes a Leslie Stahl to get you backstage to see how he does it. While you undoubtedly know Darth Vader, you probably don't know the man who created him. But you will when George Lucas gives 60 Minutes a preview of his latest blockbuster, Sunday.
And we hope you'll join us here again Monday for the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting from CBS News World Headquarters in New York.